Just
Yeah.
overall.
Okay, thank
Invisible
you,
Liberty
everybody,
Justice
for
School.
joining. I very much appreciate it. And we are going to turn it right over to Denise for our public hearing, our annual public hearing at 6 p.m.
Okay, Andrew, you have it ready? We're just waiting for Andrew to put it up on the screen for everybody to see.
Where's the green soup?
Okay. So, welcome. This is the public hearing for the proposed 2021-22 school budget. So the board adopted the budget back on April 15th, 2021. The adopted budget is $34,573,467. The budget-to-budget increase is 3.97%, which equates to $1,321,745. The proposed tax levy increase is 0%.
Hold on, Denise, should we be changing a page?
Yes, Andrea?
Sorry for interrupting you.
Nope, you're fine, Ann. Yeah, she's controlling it.
Okay, let's just give her a minute then. I just want everybody to be able to see
Yeah.
it.
So
The second one already. The second one.
okay, it should show it. I changed it. Do you see it? I can't see
Okay.
what you're seeing.
Yeah, it's
We're
not
supposed to be
popping
in
up.
the first page.
Yeah, well, right. It should be the proposed expenditures for 2020. There you go.
Well,
There you go.
I'm gonna do it this way then.
Oh, it's not working. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. So yeah, I'm on that slide right now. So again, thank you, everybody. The proposed tax levy increase is 0%, and we're using 0 assigned fund balance. So we are below the levy limit of the 1.2%. So the district will need a simple majority to pass the budget. So the estimated tax revenue increase is 0, and I'm going to say 0% until I show you a few slides later, because it's all going to be based on assessments. So during the budget hearing, we must show the budget in the 3-part component, which is administrative, program, and capital. So when we look at the breakdown of the administrative component, which includes the areas of all administrative operations, such as the superintendent's office, the business office, administrative salaries, and associated benefits, Board of Education expense, and other related areas. So for the 2021 school year, the current school year, it was $3,400,540, or 10.23% of the budget. The proposed budget for 21-22 is $3,540,000. Excuse me, $3,540,357, or 10.24% increase. So as you can see, the increases the administrative budget is staying pretty flat. Next slide, please. Next, we're going to look at the program, and the program is all related to the instructional programs, such as the teacher salaries and the benefits, student support services, classroom materials and supplies, BOCES instructional programs, library and audiovisual, athletic programs, and transportation, operating expenses, and other program areas. So for the current school year, the program component was $25,101,718, or 75.49% of the budget. The proposed 21-22 school year is $25,718,581, which takes it down to 74.39% of the budget. So you're probably wondering why, even though the budget went up, why did the percent go down? That is because you'll see on the next slide, on the capital component, there's a big change here, and I will explain that. So the capital component are your debt service payments for voter-approved projects, amount for tax certiorari proceedings, court order settlements, transportation, all facility costs, including salary and benefits, custodial and plant operations. The current school year, the budget was $4,749,464, or 14.28%. That the proposed budget for 21-22 is $5,314,529, or 15.37% of the budget. Now, I just want to remind everybody that the reason why there was an increase in the capital component is that the board approved allocating $130,000 into the buildings and grounds equipment line to purchase 2 vehicles. And that is why you see such a change in that budget. Okay, Andrew, next slide, please. So I just want to review the 21-22 projected revenues, because the revenues must match out to the expenditures. So the revenues, other revenues were the Garrison tuition, BOCES refund, interest earnings, other tuition fees, sales of excess materials, JROTC reimbursement. So our federal sources, West Point, the West Point tuition, the impact aid, is $10,120,696. The other revenue is $1,109,536. Again, we are applying $0 for the fund balance. State aid is estimated at $12,037,283. And the tax levy, which is the same as the current school year, at $11,305,952. So what will happen if the budget goes down? We have to have a contingent budget we have to follow the contingent budget regulations. So very interesting for the coming up school year, the tax levy is 0%. We are already at a 0% increase. So the administrative cap is applied, so we can be no higher than the 10.23%. The Board of Education determines what is a contingent expense. Okay, next slide,
Denise?
please. Yeah,
Denise, can you just go back and just explain a little more? Really, when you said the Board of Education determines what is a contingent expense, we won't have any contingent expenses that we have to remove, right?
The only thing that we will have to remove, we will have to move the $130,000 that is budgeted for the 2 vehicles for buildings and grounds, and we will move those funds into the instructional lines for the students. And that's what would happen with that money. And then we would have to move, I'm sorry, but it's going to be an estimated $3,000 out of the administrative budget, and we will put those funds back into the instructional lines also.
So there's I just want to be clear, there's no savings to taxpayers. We're not removing anything from the budget, moving it to different lines.
Correct.
Okay.
Because we're already at a 0%
We're already
increase in
at
the tax.
0. Okay, I just want to make sure that that's clear to the community that's going to be voting on the budget and the taxpayers, that there will be no change to their tax bills if we go on a contingent budget. Certain things would be moved in lines. Use of all buildings.
Andrew, I was going to say, let Andrew go to the next slide too, Ann, so you can discuss it. Go ahead. There, it's right there.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the proposed budget for the 2021-22 school year is $34,573,467. If we go to contingent, the budget still stays at $34,573,467. There is no money to be reduced in a contingent budget. But if we do go contingent, we still have to look at mandated items. All areas of the budget will be considered if there has to be any deduction, any reductions, to make sure that we are in compliance with the capital, or the administrative and the program area. So there may be charges that the people will have to pay to use our buildings, if the board decides to do so. Correct. Yeah. So under contingent, the board has the option to charge outsized usage fees to use our facilities.
That used to be the law. It's no longer. It used to be the law. That's no longer the law. We don't have to. We're not required to.
No, we can, but the board absolutely can, but the board can also decide not to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In the past, when we were on contingency, we had to charge people. It wasn't an option.
Right, and I would absolutely follow the law and charge for building usage.
Well, if it's a law, that's what I'm asking. I guess I'm not
I'm
being
sorry.
clear.
Yes, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. So yes, if we go under contingent, even though we're already at 0%,
Yeah,
yes, district will have to charge for building usage.
okay, that's what I thought. I just want because that was a surprise to the community last time, and it did cause some concerns and some issues. So I just want to be flat out with this one. If we are forced to go to contingency, there'll be no using of our grounds or buildings for anything outside without having to pay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, because that would be considered a gift of public funds that we don't have the authority to give because our budget wasn't passed.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying that, Denise.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that first.
Okay.
Okay, so now
Are
we're
there
gonna just
other
review
negative impacts? Are there other negative impacts of a turned down budget and a contingency budget?
not at this
There
time with
must
our
be.
budget.
Not with our
this time.
budget at this time, but let Frank answer, say just what's on his mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, so then from a budgetary perspective, we can still spend the same number of dollars. However, we're not getting some of the things that we actually need. And, those vehicles that we have asked the board to put into the budget are things that are nearing end of life, and our ability to service the buildings during snow and just general grounds, we would lose that ability. So while, again, from a budgetary perspective, it's not a net decrease in the budget if it goes down, we would lose valuable resources. And for the past, at least as long as I've been here now, seven budgets, we've relied on member items from our legislators to backfill areas of need. That's why we had $40,000 given to us by then Assemblyman Skoufis, now State Senator Skoufis, to buy a district vehicle. We are now, being very responsible and strategic in setting up a replacement plan for these vehicles, and we lose another cycle on those. And if something goes down, we will not have the equipment money to replace it. So just wanted to say that. I'm sorry, Denise, I didn't mean to jump in.
No, you're fine. Thank you for
No, thank
clarifying,
you.
Frank.
Thanks, Denise. Thanks, Frank. Okay.
Okay, but now we'll review the estimated taxes for a typical house at assessed value of $230,000. So if you look at the 2021 school year, the tax rate was $22.04. So the annual school taxes was approximately $5,063.28. I had contacted Jean Thelman approximately a month ago as I was getting ready after the budget was adopted, and she sent us the new assessments, and the assessments had increased, but they're not set in stone yet. So you'll see for the 21-22 school year that the tax rate actually goes down to $21.90, 91 cents, and it reduces the taxes for the annual taxes by $24 to $5,038.81. So there's a negative 0.48% decrease in the taxes, which is approximately $2.04 a month. So as we're going out with that 0% increase, with the assessment that has increased, it does show that $24 decrease in the taxes for the year for the taxpayers. And again, these are estimated because they're not finalized until July. Does anybody have any questions on that before we move on? No. All right, Andrew, next slide, please. Now, the one thing that we do have an additional proposition on the ballot on May 18th, and that is to authorize the establishment of a capital reserve fund. The purpose of the capital reserve fund is a savings account for building and facility repairs and maintenance and improvements. So what type of project can we do? Building upgrades and enhancement, parking lot improvements and repaving, HVAC and upgrades. We're asking the voters to authorize for up to 12 years, after which any remaining balances will be returned to the general fund of the school district. It's authorized for contributions of up to $9 million over the course of the 12 years. So the funds would come from the fund balance from the general fund. So what does that mean? The fund balance is generated by cost containment strategies and efficiencies initiated by the district. Either projected expenses that come in below estimates, or the revenue expenses that are above estimates, such as future state aid or impact aid payments. So this is very important as we continue to make these improvements to the district to make sure that the students have the necessary room, and just because the buildings haven't had any work done. I think the Fort School working on the LS statement for the bond from back in 1965, I think it's stated. So these are just improvements so that if we need to do additions to that, add an addition so that there's extra room in the Fort School for the students to spread out, then that's what the reserve is for. So we're hoping that the taxpayers would see this as a savings to them in the future years, and that they go ahead and they read about that carefully. And that is actually when the budget newsletter, when that goes out tomorrow in the mail. Would anybody like anything to add on to that?
I do. I just want to say, in my terms, my non-financial, my homeowner taxpayer terms, that this is like a savings account that we need permission from the community to set up. And once funds are put into that account, they're put there as a savings to be used only for capital improvements to our buildings and grounds. So if we needed to take money out of that for something else other than a capital project, again, we would need approval. We can't just take money out of this account. So it's a nice savings account. That is what allowed us to do all the work that we've done at our high school with zero effect on our taxpayers. And it's as it should be. The amount of money in an account, as well as the time an account can be opened, is limited because it's approved by the taxpayers. So it's time for us to open up a new savings account so we can look ahead and stay on top of our buildings. We know that the Fort School needs some improvements and some work that we're looking at, but we need to create this savings account. So again, this is just setting it up. It's not at this point putting any money in it right now. It's just having permission to set the savings account up for capital work. So I just wanted to kind of explain that in layman's terms too. So thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Sheboy.
And I think you hit what I was saying, that in addition to the voters authorizing the establishment of that savings account, they have to authorize the use of those monies for an appropriate purpose for a capital. So yeah, you absolutely hit that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Andrew, next slide, please. So the voting information, the qualifications: you must be a citizen of the United States, 18 years or older, resident of the district for at least 30 days preceding the vote, and registered to vote either with the district or with the county. So May 18th is a school budget vote from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the intermediate school. And I would like to thank the board for their support as we kept developing in this budget. So thank you, and thank you to the taxpayers for their continued support for the past 6 years. It's been greatly appreciated.
Can you spell out where the voters are to go at the intermediate school?
Yes. So
Physically,
due to COVID, we
where?
moved out of the front. Yes, Ned. Due to COVID, we had to move out of the front lobby vestibule area. So voters will go to the Highland Falls Intermediate School. On the back entrance to the gymnasium, voters will access the gymnasium. We have social distancing for the voters. We have social distancing for the poll workers. Marissa has been working tirelessly to set that up to make sure that individuals are safe as they exercise their democratic responsibility and right. In addition, the governor did allow for this year COVID to be an excuse or a rationale for somebody to request an absentee ballot. And if anyone is interested in obtaining an absentee ballot because they have concerns about in-person voting, they can call or reach out to Marissa at the school at extension 1300 or via email at Marissa, Marisa.Frederick, Frederick at HFFMCSD.org, and she will get them through the process to make sure that we franchise or enfranchise anybody who wishes to exercise their democratic right.
Thank you. Now,
Thank you.
I'd like to now address a few of the questions that did come in on the reopening email. We had mentioned at our recent roadshow about the budget at the village board meeting, and I believe it was put on Facebook or out on our website, whatever, that people had until noontime today to put any last minute questions in. We don't normally take questions at a budget hearing. It's more like a presentation explaining what the budget is, but due to COVID and the way this year is, we said, let's give everyone one last chance to put some questions out there and let us get the answers that are needed. So there were some questions that came in, were not related to the budget. So I just want to preface this up front. If there were questions that aren't related to the budget and they are more related to reopening, those will be addressed at our upcoming town hall on May, help me, Dr. Sheboy, May
24th, right?
May 24th. But, and if there's anything that's the questions that were directly related to reopening or educational questions, those will be addressed by the appropriate administrator, and we forwarded those off already. So, one of the questions, let me go back. I just want to make sure. Can everyone hear me? Yes, good. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. So one of the questions that was submitted by Mrs. Odell was under the program category of the budget. The question is on allotting $6.3 million in handicap programs. Can you elaborate on what these programs are and how many students are receiving them? So the answer to that question is the special education budget does include salaries, benefits, related services, supplies and materials, and any other contractual expenses for students that they're entitled to with IEP, which is special education needs. It also includes all tuition and related services for students who are placed out of district into programs deemed appropriate to meet their educational needs by the Committee on Special Education, which is a Highland Falls Fort Montgomery Central School District committee that is handled by our Director of Pupil Services. And currently, and this is an approximation, we have approximately 150 students that receive some level of special education services. And of course, some students receive more than others. It all depends on their needs. Hopefully we've answered that question clear enough. The next question talks about spending over $2 million on busing. Have we ever looked into buying our own buses? Would this produce a savings? And Mrs. Odell mentions that she knows some neighboring districts that have done that. So we have, on a number of occasions, looked into any cost savings for us. There is no cost savings in buying our own buses for a district our size. We would need to hire the bus drivers, bus aides, the mechanics to fix the buses, a dispatcher, a director, and we would have to provide employee benefits to all these individuals. Buses themselves normally run between $100,000 and $150,000. So the purchase of these buses would have to be under a separate proposition, as would replacement of them. And the district would also need to build a bus garage or a terminal of some sort to house the buses and have a place for mechanics to work on them. This in and of itself would necessitate a capital project. So we would have increased costs associated with insurance and also DOT inspections, along with all the things I already noted. And many districts in our region do contract their transportation. That includes the ones that I'm aware of and that I believe I can speak for Denise and Dr. Sheboy for looking some of this information up for us. Cornwall, Newburgh, Valley Central, Pine Bush, Port Jervis, Florida, Chester, and Middletown all currently, contract out their transportation. Okay. An additional question is, I see the budget has increased by over $1 million. And while the tax levy isn't going up this year due to extra state and federal funding, how will you ensure it won't go up next year? Is what we are spending this million on still going to be there for the next budget when perhaps we won't get the extra aid money? So there is no guarantee that the budget will not increase in any year-to-year period. The district itself, as does every other district in the state, we have negotiated contract obligations as they relate to our employees, our services, and BOCES itself. Another thing that fluctuates year over year is the cost of fuel. It's unpredictable from year to year. One year we might have a cost savings, one year it'll be increase. Also unpredictable year to year, and we're working with the state to try to get a better grasp of it, is the cost associated with the retirement system. And those things, one year, not too long ago, we had a huge increase, and now the increases have been manageable. Also, while we have been fortunate as a district over the past several years, the cost of insurance premiums have increased. So that's the other thing that we always need to keep in mind. Sometimes people come to us, the district leadership, including the Board of Ed, and they say, you know, why does the budget go up every year? Well, most of that, if you look at the way Denise just explained the 3 tiers of the budget, a lot of those increases are contractual in nature. So we are all, every one of us, Ms. Sedera, all our administration and the Board of Education, we are very mindful of financial pressures on our community. And we have worked exceptionally hard to ensure that the revenue for other sources continue to outpace the tax growth to keep the levy as reasonable as possible. Currently, there is legislation written into the 21-22 state budget, and I'm sure you've heard us talk about this, that states that the districts will be made whole over the next couple of years for foundation aid. Could that change? I guess so, but it's written in the legislation, so I feel pretty confident that we have a good chance of continuing to get funded by the state. And as always, we will continue on an ongoing pressure basis to make sure we get the impact aid that we're entitled to. Another very good question talks about to be payout sports and club stipends or equipment fees for sports that weren't played in the 2021 school year. If not, will that be added back into the budget? And if we did pay them, why did we pay when the sports and clubs were canceled? So we've talked about this at board meetings before. The district did not pay out any sports or club stipends or equipment fees for sports that were not played. Those monies are still in the budget as unspent funds. For those that were played, we paid those stipends and costs. This year so far, thank goodness we have been able to play every season. So most sports were played. So, we're in our final season right now. They were condensed seasons, but the coaches worked just as hard and met with our players and athletes on an ongoing basis. And I'm very thankful to them with all the extra work and the constraints that were put on them. So I'm thankful, and I personally thank them for all they've done. The one point that I want to make on this, though, is that, and I don't know the exact number. I don't think we are going to know until the end of the year, that while we did save money on athletics on a smaller note, on a higher note would be probably on transportation. We spent a considerable amount of money on returning our students to school and all the safety protocols that we had to put in place. And I certainly don't want to throw a number out there, but I can tell you that that was well over $500,000. So Denise, does that that doesn't sound unreasonable for me to make that statement. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so while we didn't spend money on some things, we certainly had to spend money on unexpected things that weren't in our budget last year because we had no idea it was coming our way. So I just want everyone to understand that as well. And as a district, we did a phenomenal job really finding places to take money from that would not affect our students in order to meet the requirements that we had to for PPE, safety, air handling. I can't go on to tell you all the things that we needed to invest in that our buildings did a fantastic job in, with the leadership of Dr. Sheboy and Ms. Sedera, helping to make sure we remained within our budget. So again, I publicly thank you. The next question pertains to, on page 36 of the budget document, states that we have 31 homeless students, 3% of our student population. That seems like a high number for a small community like ours. It doesn't have a homeless shelter that I'm aware of. Where are these 31 living if homeless? Are they being bused here from other districts? As a nurse practitioner, this feels like a community crisis to me when I see these numbers. In your opinion, are these numbers accurate? And if so, how can we, as a school and a community, help these children be successful? So the answer to that is a requirement under the McKinney-Vento Act. It's a law that requires schools to provide support to ensure that homeless children and youth have equal access to the same free, appropriate public education, including a public preschool education, with the opportunity to meet the same challenging state content and student performance standards. The McKinney-Vento Act also states that children and youth who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence will be considered homeless. In addition, a determinant of homelessness could be made due to the hardship of circumstances, for example, a fire, a loss of a job or income, domestic violence, or family care. So any student that falls under the McKinney-Vento Act that becomes an eligible student, they have a right, of course, like every other student, to receive a free, appropriate public education. They can enroll in school immediately, even if lacking documents normally required for enrollment or having missed application or enrollment deadlines. They can enroll in the school and attend classes while the school gathers the needed documents. This is the key. They can continue attending the school of origin or enroll in the local attendance area school if attending the school of origin is not in the best interest of the student. So what that means is any student who started school here and then throughout the year becomes homeless due to a hardship or any of the things mentioned, they have a right to come to school here for a free and public education. And they also have a right to receive transportation to and from the school of origin to their home, up to 50 miles each way if the parent or guardian requests so. Okay, so they also have a right to receive educational services comparable to those provided to other students according to the student's needs. So for our school district, the number of students that varies year to year. It's often between 2 and 4%. But again, please understand that these are children from our district who have changes in home life and circumstances beyond their control. Okay, so and it's not that anyone points this out. We don't say to a student, much of this information is HIPAA related, but I did want to explain the McKinney-Vento Act to our community because it's a fair question to ask.
Hey, Ann.
Yes, go.
I just wanted to clarify. So if somebody started school here throughout the year and for one of those reasons became homeless and had to leave the community, that's what we talk about when they come back here. They're entitled to come back here for that education. So a lot of kids that, because of this act, continue to stay enrolled in the same classes and we don't even realize their circumstances. So I just want to make sure everyone, understands that part of it.
Because it's really the
And
only
they can
way to
remain,
understand their circumstances, and that's a great point. Aaron would be the transportation department, who's setting up the transportation for them. Go ahead, Dr.
Right.
Shiboy.
Absolutely, Aaron. And remember, they have the right to attend that school throughout at least through the remainder of that school year. And if their plan is to return back, they can continue on that. And we do have a McKinney-Vento liaison who is Sarah Fitzsimmons from the high school. And she is a phenomenal resource. She takes very good care of our children, and is a tireless advocate for if by the report card it was 31 children, those 31 children are fortunate that they had Chuck Giardina and now have Sarah Fitzsimmons.
Thank you. I think it's very important for the community to understand that. So thank you very much.
And are all these questions so far from Mrs. Odell?
Yes, they are. But the
Okay.
next question that I'm touching on is from Mrs. Wolf. Can you please elaborate how the $34,000 per student is spent? Okay, so we talked about this at the village board meeting. The 34,000 is an apples to oranges number because we don't spend 34,000 on every single student towards their education. It's made up of that 3-tier thing that Denise just explained to us. The capital is the components of our budget are administrative, capital, and the program. So the first thing we do when we develop our budget is we first build a revenue budget based on the following estimated revenues. Our non-property tax, which is our tuition, our BOCES refunds, and our miscellaneous revenues. Then we add in our state aid, monies we receive from the state. Then again, Denise explained our federal sources, our West Point tuition, and our impact aid. And then an estimated property taxes, which are estimated tax levy. And please, everyone, remember that our tax levy is capped by a formula each year, which is a very complex formula. But Denise does go over that with us at the beginning of budget season, so we understand where we are. So the number in this question of 34,000 is misleading. While it is true that the mean expenditure on a pupil basis would be the total budget, 34 million divided by the number of students, approximately 1,000, gives you to that $34,000 number. The reality is that the cost of instructing a child in general ed and special ed vary greatly. And just as an example, I can just say on the median end of a special education student, depending if they're an out-of-district placement, between that and transportation, it could be, and I think I'm okay in saying this, over $100,000 per student. And at times it could absolutely very often be more, depending on the child's needs, where their out-of-district placement is, and the cost of transportation there and back. So it's not apples to apples with this, okay? Also, as I said already, we have you have to keep in mind that there's 3 different components to our budget, okay? And according to our district's transparency report on the state education website, the average cost of instructing a pupil in district after taking out transportation, out-of-district tuition, and BOCES full-time tuition, and our debt service was approximately $22,140.42. So this was based on a budget of just over 32 million. So based on this, a rough estimate of the true cost of instruction would be about $23,500. That's slightly above the statewide average. It is right in line with our region in the Mid-Hudson Valley. So also, one of the things I wanted to just remind everybody is the budget does contain expenses for every aspect of the program in the school, regardless of whether they are directly attributed to educating students or whether these students attend our schools or attend other schools for special education services. Those include things like athletics, clubs, and things like that. All that costs money too. So I do want to say in closing that in all my years on the school board, I've never been able to say that we have a budget as fair, as well thought out. We again are blessed and thankful for our elected officials coming through for us from state aid, especially in this terrible time of COVID. But our team in and of itself revisited, only put things out there that were absolutely needed. And I can't thank everybody on this call enough for putting the time and effort into it. It is a very, very sound budget. So Dr. Sheboy, I don't know if you want to add anything or.
Sure, just briefly, I want to say not only is it a sound budget, it's responsible. It's looking at both the short-term and long-term needs of the district, and especially the children. By adding those two pieces of equipment for buildings and grounds, we're meeting long-term needs for buildings and grounds. We have not had a strategic replacement cycle for those trucks, and you get two of them down, we will not be able to open because of school. That's a responsible thing for the board. It's a responsible thing for the community. In addition, adding that social worker is going to address social and emotional needs of our youngest learners. We wanted that last year, even before COVID. That was something that we wanted to add in last year, and it didn't make it to the final cut. And if the pandemic exposed anything, it exposed that we really need to take care of not only the instructional needs, not only the capital needs and making sure I can open the roads and things, but the social and emotional needs. And we're shy. I mean, having one social worker for all of our children who also manages our McKinney-Vento, that's a tough road to hoe. And we're fortunate that the board supported our recommendations to add that. And again, it's a responsible budget, a 0% budget, 0% tax increase I've not seen, and zero, appropriated fund balance I've not seen. And again, I commend Denise, I commend Andrea, I commend the principals for all that they did and our directors. And I'll mute now.
I thank everybody on behalf of the board, and thank you, Denise, for your detailed budget hearing presentation. And just a reminder to the community, any additional questions that you asked about reopening will be answered at the upcoming town hall, and anything directly related to education will be responded to by the appropriate administrator. So thank you for your questions, and we can move on now. Our next part of the meeting is, are there any comments from the Board of Education? Go ahead,
One
Gus.
comment.
Oh, go ahead, Ned.
Yes,
No, go ahead, Gus.
concerning the column that was knocked over at the high school, to me, it looks better with the skinny column than with the fatter columns. Is there any decision as to what route we're going to take in regards to either replacing it or modifying the rest of the columns?
Yeah, that conversation is underway. I concur that it looks a little bit better without that. It was a wonderful design element that was difficult to maintain. As we know, the top blocks would fall. So yeah, that's a conversation that is underway.
I have another question. Every now and then I go by the school and I inspect what's going on, and I noticed that at the future Debbie Crow field, there are 8 trees planted on the far end, and according to the diagram or the plans that I have that I took about maybe about a year and a half ago, there should be 12 trees instead of 8 trees.
Oh my goodness, Gus.
So I was just wondering if we're going to get a credit from the
Okay.
the contractors.
Okay, Gus.
Yes, ma'am.
I can take that one. I know that they're still finalizing some of the things that they're putting on the Debbie Crow field, but also we did add some things there, some final touches and things that they did that we probably said, okay, let's go with 8 trees because we're getting the bigger trees and that's what's going to fit there versus all 12 of the smaller trees. So some of that came into play after the setup was done, because don't forget, they didn't know what rocks or anything else they were going to hit there until they actually started digging and things like that. So I feel confident that we got our money's worth from the extras that they have contributed to that area.
Okay, and last question. There are a couple of lights still missing around by the tennis courts. Are they going to be put in eventually, or what's the status on those?
So if they're the lights in the parking area, they were not part of the base bid. They were part of EC1, which we did not take. So that's, hopefully we will be able to do that as part of, I'm going to ask the board to reject bids tonight, part of that EC1 revision work for the next phase. But those will not be powered up nor posted right now because they were not part of base bid.
Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you. Anything else, Gus?
No, that's about it for now.
Okay. I do want to share with the board and the community that we're thick into our initial screenings for our assistant superintendent for business. And we're working tirelessly to start really looking into some of these candidates, as well as I know Dr. Sheboy is working on some other changes that are coming forward and other some moves that we're making. So it's a very busy time right now. We're getting ready for graduation and everything else. So I thank everybody for your continued work and support and all the important things coming our way. Also, we're doing our road shows. We went to the village board meeting the other night. Mr. Copold was there, Dr. Sheboy, myself, and Mr. DeSalvo serves on the village board. We were able to present our budget and take some questions from the audience. So it was a nice meeting, and I thank them. We look forward to our village board meeting and our Rotary board meeting that are both coming up in the near future. So thank you for that. And I believe Ned, somebody raised their hand. Who was it? I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead, Ned.
Just congratulations to the moot court team, their coaches, and Ms. Bettino. Apparently, for the second year in a row, we were the winners in that long-standing competition.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Sheboy, I'll turn it over to you.
So I apologize, but since the business meeting last month was a little short, I have a couple extra things. So just want to recognize that it is Teacher Appreciation Week and School Nurse and Nurse Appreciation Week. So just hats off to the people who are working the closest and boots on the ground with our children every day, our school nurses, our teachers, our teaching assistants and teacher aides. It is an incredible job that they have done and continue to do to meet the needs of our children every day. So just wanted to start with that. As everybody is aware, our school status is that we are open 5 days a week for K-8 children and 4 days a week for our secondary children at the high school. We're very excited about that, and we are working with our reopening committee towards a look at September. We do not anticipate any sort of guidance from SED prior to July at the earliest, but we're going to move forward with our plans because our goal is all kids in every day. And Dr. Theodore will speak about that, I'm sure, during her report. Just want to let the board know we are starting to see an uptick in facilities use requests. So while we were not allowing facility requests to be granted at the beginning of the pandemic, actually starting from about March of last year through today, I think it's time for us to revisit that, especially for some of these that have come through. There's a youth track program that runs, Coach Conklin runs it. It's a feeder program. It's for the youth of our community. I'm going to support that one. And in addition, we've had some requests for memorials for Charlie Littlejohn, who passed away, to do something at the intermediate school, and also for Jimmy Ranieri from Jim Ranieri. And to the extent that we can support those memorials without additional resources being expended by the district, I would support those so long as they are meeting COVID guidelines. And just would like to get a sense from the board about that, because we haven't been doing anything, but our positivity rates are down. Our kids are back. We're playing sports, and especially for Charlie, I think it would be a nice thing for him, who gave so much not only to our school but to United States Marine Corps, and to Jimmy Ranieri, longtime student-athlete student whose father gave so much, and whose stepmother is in the district still giving so much. So just want to get a sense from the board as to whether I can, have them submit appropriate facilities use, because we've not taken any facilities use requests. So
I think we definitely need to take, my vote is to take them and look at them and work to try to help where we can, our community. I know, since I attended the village board meeting, and I heard there's a lot of, we do have to be careful. We have to be able to ensure safety protocols. We have to ensure that whatever groups want to use our facilities are insured and are going to be using it for the right reasons. The big thing about, obviously, no alcohol, cleaning up after you're done, no glass, no loud music, respect for others, respect for COVID guidelines. The few that you just mentioned, I can pretty much assure you they won't have those problems. But before we do open it up to everybody else, or as other requests come in, I think we do need to make sure that we have a way to manage all that. And I would look to Aaron for some help with that, just because he does it for rec as well, and making sure that the kids that are involved and the adults that are involved are still staying safe and follow the guidelines. So if we just need a little extra help understanding what he does, or help it to work. But I just want to be careful, because I don't want it to turn into what's going on right now in the village and Roe Park and all the issues that they appear to be having, which I think are valid issues, because we went through the same mess with that same group last year, if you remember.
Yep.
So that's all I ask for. So go ahead, Mr. Copeland.
I would add or suggest we add Ms. Cox to that list for consideration as well.
So Ned, those requests actually came from family members of those individuals. So if one came for Joanne, then we would certainly consider it in the same vein.
Thank you. I think Faith, did you have your hand up? No. Okay, anybody else? So can I have just a quick, sorry, Gabe, go ahead.
So just to speak a little bit about it, that I would be very much in favor of, especially anybody that's was ever involved in our district, supporting them as much as possible. So under current guidelines where we can be safe. So I think that moving forward, we need to have that conversation together as a board, set guidelines, fees, whatever we need to do moving forward. And then it's a good thing if we can show our place off to the community as well, which a lot of people haven't been able to get up there to see it too, in a safe way, of course.
I have Mr. Copeland is a yes. I am a yes. Gabe is a yes. Aaron is a yes.
No, yeah, I'm definitely the same. I definitely support anything like that. Anybody from the community want to do something like that. In cases, need to be done on a case-to-case basis, but anything like that,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you. Faith said yes, and Gus and Jimmy. Gus is yes,
Yes.
Jimmy's yes, and Colonel Marston.
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Okay, I think we gave you direction, Dr. Sheboy.
Perfect. So I still have a couple of things. I apologize for running along, but we also have something very exciting to look forward to in about a week and a half. That's the dedication of the Debbie Crow Field, and just wanted to remind the board of that. We have the election, and again, as Mr. Coppold said, just to put it out there one more time, it's in the gymnasium at the Highland Falls Intermediate School. Individuals will enter the gymnasium through the back entrance, will not enter through the school. It's still a school day. We will have Village of Highland Falls Police just directing people into what parking lot to go to. Mr. Max and the Transportation Department have been working hard to make sure that we keep our parking lot for voters. So we're looking forward to that. We're looking for favorable weather so that people don't have to stand out in the rain in case we need to socially distance people. And lastly, I'm sure that our buildings are going to talk about it during their reports. We are actively working on details for some wonderful events. The spring musical will be at Trophy Point this year, and we are working on the details to make sure that the public can access that to the extent that's practicable. We actually have a greater seating capacity than we would if it was going to be at O'Neill. Obviously, we have to pray for good weather. In addition, the prom is it's under works. It's not underway. It's not today. Otherwise, I'd be there. But plans for the prom are underway. 8th grade moving up. Mr. Mack has started to put together his plan, and Ms. Brand and I spent some time meeting with individuals from West Point about Ike Hall. So we're very excited that we will be able to do that, and we're tentatively on their calendar. 23 June is the day of commencement. Mike, you're 22 June for 8th grade moving up? Yep. So we're real excited to be able to get back to some level of normalcy that we have not seen in a while. So that's the end of my report on just superintendent stuff.
Okay, thank you. Faith, you might have a question, I think, but I'm gonna wait for Mrs. Haberman to do hers so we can get her answer to that. So let's turn to Dr. Theodore now, please.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. This morning, oh my gosh, this evening. I have a few things to share with the board. The reopening committee met again on Tuesday, May 4th, and we looked at a draft of the reopening plan for the 2021-2022 school year. There weren't too many questions about it because a lot of it is consistent with the ongoing changes to the regulations and to the guidance that we're receiving from State Education Department and the Department of Health. One of the things that we did speak about was a virtual learning option for the students and the need to continue to offer that as we look towards September. We discussed it quite a bit. We've also been having discussions about that on a regional level with school districts through Orange Ulster BOCES. And we decided to send out a survey to help us determine the actual need for this program. And we've asked the community to complete the survey based on their students' need for such a program, for a virtual learning option, not for personal reasons, but for like we did this year, but for an actual need. So we look forward to receiving the responses on that survey. We are going to be publishing posting the reopening plan for feedback from the general public. It'll be live on May 10th, Monday, and we'll send a notification out to that using our website and also our messaging system. And Dr. Sheboy and I will be hosting a virtual town hall on May 24th at 6:00 p.m. and we'll include that information as well in the notification that will go out on Monday, May 10th. Pre-K, the pre-K program this year, we did receive funding through Universal Pre-K thanks to Senator Skoufis' involvement, and we had a big event over at the Fort Montgomery Elementary School about having received those funds. This program now, because of the change in the funding source, there are regulations that we have to adhere to related to the way that the program is designed. And so one of the requirements is that we cap the classrooms at 20 students and we staff that with a teacher and 2 aides. This means that for the upcoming school year, where we typically have 48 slots, or where we have historically, I should say, had 48 slots for students, we now will have 44 slots. We'll continue to use our protocol where it's first come, first served, and Miss Lent is our registrar for the district, and parents can reach out to Miss Lent to set up an appointment and register their student. The other thing I wanted to just touch upon is that we received our funding allocations for the American Relief Plan and also the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, and the total funding is around $2.7 million. There are some set-asides that we have to adhere to with those funds to organize a summer enrichment program, an after-school program, and specific instructional response to address learning loss. The district is in the process right now of putting together a summer enrichment program, and we will be sending information out about that this upcoming week. So that's all I have.
Before you
That's a
move
lot.
on, and do you mind if I just ask a question? Or actually, it's not really even a question. It's just a statement that sort of just triggered me when Andrea talked about sending information out. I just want to offer my opinion, I guess, as a parent more so than anything else. I feel like lately there's been like so much inundation of information sent out. I know personally myself, I have lost stuff. I might be because I get, my husband gets an email, I get an email, I get the notification of the website, I get the text message. It's almost like so much like I'll read it later, and then I never get back to read it later. I'm sure there's parents that feel the same way, and then I lose it. And is that my fault? Of course it's my fault. But I feel like there's so much information going out that my head is spinning, and I'm so like, what's happening with finals? What's happening with regions? What was the survey? I don't even know. I like it. So I'm sure that I'm not alone, but I want to acknowledge that and point that out as we talk about information going out, that I think we need to be real succinct and specific as to not overwhelm people.
And Faith, to your point, I mean, I've been sending out multiple letters every week regarding exposures. Right. And it may be time for us to send out a weekly update, except for the individuals who were identified as a source of contact, just for that still wanted to be transparent with the community that this week we had 2 students at this school, 1 student at that school, and that may help alleviate some of that. But I know what you're saying, there's a lot of stuff because it's a lot of stuff. So,
yeah, it is. Yeah. Sure. I just want to point that out from a parent perspective.
I will say we've all heard that. So.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Faith. Ms. Sedera?
One quick question for
Andrea.
Go ahead, just the pre-K numbers, Andrea, have they, the signups, have they increased?
Yes, we're currently seeing active, a lot of activity with pre-K students being enrolled in the district. Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Sedera, do you have anything else for us? You just gave us a lot of info. Go ahead.
I did. Just one thing. Back in April, we had a request from one of our board members about the question in regards to the bond that we're getting ready to do from the capital project.
Yeah.
So over the past couple of days, I've been back and forth with Rick Tim's office because we actually have the sale of the bond on June 1st. So at the June 3rd meeting, I will let you know what the rate is that we set. I mean, the rates are favorable. I don't know what they'll be. But and I also have a call with Moody's, I think the day of the board, the budget vote. So I will give everybody an update of where we are with the interest rate for the bond on June 3rd.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Mrs. Haberman?
Good evening. So I wanted the most updated information from Mr. Copewald when he mentioned mock trial. So I texted Amy, who said they're currently competing in the second round of the regional tournament. We'll find out later tonight or tomorrow if they move on to the regional finals, and everything's going well tonight. So let's keep our fingers crossed for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Seniors will be holding a senior sunrise event from 5:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. On May 17th, and it's been postponed due to the weather. You know, the current situation for, I guess, tomorrow, it was iffy, so they moved it to the 17th. Aside from watching the sunrise, students will have pre-made breakfasts that day provided by Aramark. We'll play games on the Debbie Crow Field. And several of our faculty members have agreed to chaperone the event, so that'll be well covered. AP exams began this week and will continue to take place throughout the month of May. SATs will be at the high school on Saturday, May 8th. The mid-quarter point for quarter 4, I can't believe, is this Friday, May 7th, is tomorrow. Grades will be published on the portal the following Friday. The first cohort of AP research students will be doing their oral defenses on their research on Wednesday, May 12th. And the academic awards video presentation will be happening on Wednesday, May 12th at 7 p.m. and details with a video link will be out soon.
Thank you. And Mrs. Haberman, for the prom, have there been any standards set yet? Will it just be seniors or?
As of right now, that's still the situation.
Okay.
And we'll update as soon as we have all the information. I don't have anything more at this time to share.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. I know it's
Okay, no.
frustrating.
No, I appreciate the status, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. McElduff?
Yes, hi, good evening. So we wrapped up our math state test today, actually. We have some makeups early next week, so we are wrapped up. We finished ELA and we're finishing up math. So our last bit is our Science 4-8, which will be in the beginning of June. We still are tackling master scheduling, and also we are beginning to celebrate Asian Pacific American Heritage Month at HFIS with our morning announcements, and Mrs. Maldonado leads that charge each and every day. She puts a lot of effort into getting those slides ready, and it's a lot of fun to do. And just real quick, yes, the moving up ceremony, Dr. Shiba, I just wanted to confirm it is June 22nd, and we are looking to do it at the James I. O'Neill High School auditorium, and I will be sharing out additional information about that next week to families.
Thank you, sir. Okay, and I'm just going to go across the screen so I don't forget anybody. So, Mr. McGinnis, do you have anything for us?
There's nothing really that Dr. Sheboy didn't already interject
Yeah.
or addressed in the meeting, so
Yep.
I feel like we're pretty
Okay.
well covered.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jim, for stealing your thunder.
That's quite all right. You can take it.
It's fine. Ms. Hardinas?
Good evening, everyone. So just to share, continuing with our annual reviews, as you said, we do have a lot of students, and so we are currently, we started at the elementary school. So that's always fun to see those meetings because the kids grow the most and it's the most exciting sometimes. I was there the other day and it's amazing. They're all a head taller, I think. And then we also have started the nicest lad speaking part. And we did make the testing available to any of our students who are in school or virtual. We offered to provide transportation if any students wanted to come in. We have a few at each level. And so that's really it for me.
Thank you very much. I know it's a real busy time, so thank you on behalf of all of us. And Ms. Adelstein?
Good evening, everyone. I do have numbers for pre-K. Right now, currently, we have 26 students that are completely enrolled. And I would like everyone to know to keep in mind that complete enrollment means you are handing in all of your documents to Ms. Lent, and that is the most secure way to ensure that you have a spot in pre-K. If you're missing any of those documents, you can't be considered fully enrolled, and the spots are there that could be taken. So we will have an orientation video that we'll be sharing very soon to the public. There's a great team of individuals at the fort that are working on putting some things together that represents our program so that there's a little bit more information to be shared with everybody. And we also have our dial testing dates available for our incoming pre-K students, but also our incoming kindergarten students. So be on the lookout for a phone call or a letter or both from myself and Mr. Hartwick with that information. And I do also want to give a huge shout out to the teachers and the faculty, the staff, the support staff at FMES. They're truly amazing. We had a great week this week celebrating them and all that they do. And also, excuse me, a special shout to the PTP for making some really beautiful decorations and thoughtful things ready for the teachers to see and brighten their day throughout the week.
Thank you very much, and thank you, everybody. And thank you again to our teachers and our nurses for their celebratory week. It's much deserved, so thank you. Okay, now we'll go on to committee reports. The policy committee, please.
So I sent out a doodle poll to our policy committee members so that they can look at some proposed dates and we can start to meet. We did actually today get our latest draft, so we should be able to make light work of that and then have the entire policy for the board for June 1st read, second read, and July adopt.
Thank you. The Wellness, Health, and Safety Committee?
There hasn't been a meeting since we last updated.
Thank you very much. The next is the Audit Committee, and we have our kickoff next week, right?
May 11th at 4 o'clock, Monday afternoon. I will send out the agenda. And the reserve plan so that we have that so I make a look at it. And I did send an invite to people's calendars and it'll be virtual with Chris Maley. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is our Facilities Committee. And we have had meetings. I don't think we've had one though since our last update. Am I correct, Dr. Sheboy? We haven't had one since our last update that we gave, but basically.
Yeah, we're continuing to work on issues related to elementary concerns, but also wrapping up the high school project. But just want to let the committee know that I'm going to work with Jim and with the committee members just to pick a date so that we can start to put together a fee structure for out-of-district use of our facilities. Again, we had started talking about this in February of 2020, that our fee structure was woefully outdated, but we really need to start looking at that. So I'm going to send out some times and hopefully we'll be able to get together in the next week or so on that.
Thank you very much. The next committee is Diversity and Equity Committee. And I'll let Faith take it if she wants to. But again, we had another very exciting meeting. It just continues to grow. That's all I can say. It just continues to grow. It's an amazing committee, amazing ideas, amazing things. Go ahead, Faith.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of idea sharing and really focusing on how to drill down and move forward. The highlight I would say from this past meeting is watching a YouTube video that was put on by Emmanuel Acho, who is a former NFL player who is very openly speaking out in regards to issues related to anti-racism and all of those things. He's put out a series of 10 episodes on YouTube called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. I happen to be reading the book currently, and it's really fascinating information in regards to issues related to race and diversity and understanding. So I would encourage anyone who is interested in the topic to pick up that book or perhaps watch some of his videos because all the ideas are really reinforced there.
The videos are amazing, and it was a video where they had Joanna from the home show. Yeah. And her family was there. And when you listen to her children speak and ask questions, it was just so moving. So I would suggest anybody to watch that can.
He has one that's actually a 2-part episode with a, I don't remember the police department, but it's a very small police department that's primarily white. And it's a really powerful dialogue back and forth, particularly, given the state of everything that's going on right now. So
thank you, Faith. Our next committee would be OXPA. Did you have an update on that? I know you shared something with us. It was last night, right?
Yes. Yep. So we had OXPA last night. I had shared on the topic of conversation last night. The presentation was put on both by BOCES and Darcy Miller, who's the commissioner of DSS and Department of Mental Health. She happens to be my boss. And it was a really powerful presentation in regards to best practices for staying engaged with students during a pandemic. So we're sort of writing the book on that at the moment. But there was really the focus on social emotional health, well-being for children, mental health, access to services, destigmatizing mental health, and mental wellness around all of that. And the video that I sent to the board during that meeting, it was just a really powerful. It was about, I think, 3 minutes, 28 seconds. It was created and produced by a student somewhere upstate. And it's silent through the whole thing. I don't know if anyone had the opportunity to watch it, but it really sort of gives a really tiny window into what's going on for students when they're, so connected to just the computer and isolated from the rest of the world. So it was a really powerful process. Something that Darcy did bring up, and I believe she said she shared this at a recent meeting she had with all of the superintendents, was that I think in preparation for that meeting, she had said that she went to all of the district's websites to see how accessible is information about mental health resources. And she said that most districts had the resources there, but you had to really search and dig around to find it. She implored districts to consider that and go back perhaps to their website and make that more of a focal point. So it's not hidden, it's out there, and it's really clear that here it is, here's the resources. If you need it, you don't need to dig and find for it. So I actually, I have up our website now, and I'm just noticing, like, we have the COVID-19 response, parent university registration, some of those key pieces. And I wonder if we can consider how difficult it is to consider putting a link related to mental health resources for children and families. And there's a wealth of resources out there, so it would be, easy to feed things in there. So it's something to consider. And as far as Oxford business, one thing that we did talk about that they asked me to bring back for conversation with our board is the issue of the convention that is scheduled to be in person in New York City in October. It's running Sunday the 24th to Tuesday the 26th. The business meeting will be held virtually the week before. I am the voting delegate for that, so I will participate in that virtually. But really they want to get the sense of whether or not we will be sending people to the in-person convention, whether or not we're comfortable with that. Usually Oxford does a hospitality suite. And so of course they're looking for the idea of, do we want to participate in that? Because they need to get sponsorships and all of those things. And I shared that we haven't really discussed that yet. Feels a little bit early, but time goes by very quickly. So it's something for us to certainly consider.
Can we think on it and discuss it at the next meeting, at the next business meeting, so you have something to take back?
Yeah.
I mean, some of us have been, there's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. We really did talk about the idea of how much better it was when it was virtual, because you could also access the sessions for a few months afterwards. You could really get more bang for your buck that way.
Yeah.
I don't know how comfortable I would be in New York City. I mean, it's like
they're wall-to-wall people that are
wall-to-wall.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I would feel much more comfortable being able to continue it the way we had it, but we'll let everybody think on it and just make sure you ask us the next time.
I will.
So thank you. Okay, Mrs. Crowe, athletics.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see everybody for a change. Our fall season ended and pretty exciting. Girls soccer won the section championship and our football team also won, which was a real exciting night. Our spring season has started. The weather has been, for the most part, beautiful. It's kind of nice that they didn't have to practice indoors for a month, which is what we've had to do in the past. Boys lacrosse is still being COVID tested, and they're getting tested once a week, and that's going very well so far. This past week, we were supposed to have 5 events going all at the same time, which is a first. Tennis did get canceled, but we did have 4 events, and I got a lot of steps in walking to every event. So it's wonderful to see that many athletes all being able to play at the same time. We do a spectator gate list for visitors and home. So we are limiting it to 2 per athlete, as we have done all year long. And just looking forward, we will have culminating events in, I believe, every spring sport. The last day of any competition will be June 12th. So everything will happen that week before as far as culminating events.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I know it takes a lot of hard work by many people that are on this call to pull those games off with the gate lists and the security and making sure that everything runs safely during the event. And what I've seen, what I've been able to see, everybody comes together and does a great job. So we said it was going to be difficult. It is difficult, but I see a lot of smiling faces on the kids. So I thank you for all you're doing to organize that. Our children needed it.
And we thank you. The kids are just ecstatic that everything is happening. So I thank the board very much as well.
Thank you. Okay, the next two committees are the federal government funding liaison and the state funding advocacy. We're getting ready for our Impact Aid conference, our FLISA meeting. That is, some of us will be participating remotely. There's a chance that our fearless leader will be heading out to do it in person. I'm not necessarily in favor of that, but I thank him very much if it works out and he can go. We will continue to fight and ask for and advocate for all of our funding that we are entitled to, not only on the federal level, but on the state level. So again, we'll keep that going. Our local government update, Mr. DeSalvo.
Nothing too important. The village budget did pass the other night on Monday. And other than that, it was pretty routine.
Thank you. Our taxer liaison, have you had any meetings or any updates on that?
Yeah, I've had no updates. It's been very quiet. And so we won't be taking any additional tax certs until late July, early August of 2021.
2021. Okay.
Denise,
this summer.
Can you ask?
Yes,
I had previously asked to get a report from our council as to the status of the existing cases.
Okay, I will reach out to them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Ned. The West Point Community Council, we have not met. So next is our community relations, Frank.
So obviously the principals gave an update when they did their reports on this, but in addition, obviously just a reminder that we do have a budget meeting at the Town of Highlands next Monday, the 10th. We have the Rotary on the 13th. The district did host a Narcan training in conjunction with the Community Coalition and the Rotary Club and ADAC on the 24th of April. We had about 10 people there, so 10 more Narcan kits in the community. That's a great thing. And I'm working with a Cornerstone to see if we can schedule a vaccination event for our students, so that as we approach the end of the year and there's vaccination and or testing requirements, some of our students whose families believe the vaccine is something that they should get would hopefully be fully vaccinated in time for commencement. So we're trying to work that out with Cornerstone. More information, hopefully not information overload, will be coming out soon on that. So
thank you. Thank you. So, Ms. Sedera, can we turn to the agenda?
Yeah, sure we can. All right, use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda as submitted by the Superintendent of Schools, number 2 to 36.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I have to ask for number 30 and 35 to be voted on separately because I have to abstain from those 30 and 35?
I would ask,
So, go ahead.
items 13 and 17 also be voted separately. And I have a questions on the, if Frank can explain the need for the change orders and why they were not included in the original plan or implemented in the original plan.
So yes, first off, Denise sent out a read ahead for the board. I would say that generally speaking, these are things that were included, but for example, change order number 6006-06 called for an increase in amperage from a 20 amp to a 30 amp circuit in order to accommodate the hot water heaters, which were larger than what were originally spec'd out, but were appropriate for the size that we needed to fill, to put hot water in the washrooms, the custodial closet, as well as in the concession stand. I mean, as I go through Denise's notes on all of these, again, just I thank her for sending that.
Yeah, her notes were very detailed as to the explanation of them.
I saw them as well.
Mhm.
It wasn't that I didn't.
So,
but
no, I'm not insinuating
I
that.
don't understand why those changes were not thought through initially.
Well, part of that is that the RFIs, the request for informations, did not come through necessarily at the time of the bid. So the electrician didn't request additional information at the time of the bid and bid on it. And then at the time when they were doing the work, they discovered situations and conditions where they needed to either add electric to it. For example, the one regarding the grinder pump line to wire that grinder pump and the alarm. The electrician was concerned that the original spot where that was going to be housed, that electric panel, that it would have created a concern if there was ever, very unlikely, but ever a methane buildup in that panel or electrical room. That then necessitated a change of that wiring from one location in that room to another. And the minute you move a line, the electricians, it doesn't matter which electrician, doesn't matter if it's Foremost or any electrician, is going to look for some sort of additional money. So some of those things could have been rectified if there had been RFIs prior to the bid. There wasn't, and henceforth, when the RFIs came through, it did change some of the design, and that's the reason for the increase in costs on a lot of these things. I will remind the board that we are still below 4% as far as total change orders on the project, and but that's the best answer I can give, Ned.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Ned, you also said another number. Did you say 17?
I did.
Ned,
Yes.
do you have a question on that, or?
Yes, I feel that it is extremely important that Mr. McElduff continue in his position as principal of the intermediate school. He having provided good leadership and stability, improvement in the school. We're in the middle of a continued pandemic. We are losing through retirement Dr. Theodore, Mrs. Sedera, Mrs. Brand, the principal at the high school, senior nurses,
Okay.
and And therefore,
I was just asking if you were asking, I didn't know if you had a question. Do you have a question on it?
I didn't have a question. I have a statement of why I felt it was an unwise move at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so where is my district clerk? Here we are. Sorry, Marissa, I couldn't find you in all the squares. Okay, so we're pulling out 13 to vote on it separately, 17 to vote on it separately, and I have to abstain from 30 and 35.
Okay.
But so can we vote? We'll pull those out and vote separate. Is that how 30 and 35 when I have to abstain? Okay. I have a motion and a second on 1 through 30. 1 through 36, excluding 13, 17, 30, and 35. So I have a motion and a second. Can I get all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 13, may I get a motion? Second?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Negative.
Opposed?
Gus and Ned are opposed. Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Number 17, may I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
I'll second whoever. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'm opposed. Stated.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Mr. McElduff, I cannot thank you enough. I congratulate you, and I thank you wholeheartedly for coming on board and helping us fill a very important shoes of Andrea, who's leaving us for bigger and better things. So thank you so very much, and we wish you the best of luck, and we're here to support you every step of the way.
I appreciate that. She does have big shoes to fill.
You can do it. We have faith.
I have faith in myself too, but I just want to thank the Board of Education for this opportunity. And I want to also thank Dr. Sheboy, Dr. Tabor, and Ms. Sedera for their guidance and patience with me over the past 5 years. I've learned so much, and I'm ready to support this district in a different capacity. And my goals aren't changing. It's supporting the staff, students, and community. That is my #1 priority. And it's truly bittersweet because I love working at HFIS, and I'm going to miss coming to that building on a daily basis. However, I am honored to still be a part of this district and community, and look forward to my new role this August. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you again. And congratulations. So thank you. Okay, number 30, may I get a motion?
Motion.
And a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I have to abstain. You got that one, right? Okay. And then number 35, may I please get a motion? Oh, no. Yes, number 35.
Motion.
Motion.
Sorry. Okay, with motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and Marissa, I abstained.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And now, I would like to,
And
yes.
just before we go, we do have two of our, well, one's not new to
I'm
us.
so sorry. That's my fault. I am so sorry. I saw Julie join and I am so sorry, Carolyn and Ashley. I'm very sorry. So yes, go ahead, Dr. Sheboy.
So just wanted to welcome back. Carolyn has been with us all year. She's done an amazing job in a leave replacement capacity for Ms. Diedrich. And we know that as a probationer, she's going to continue to inspire our children and remain, she's a graduate, so she's going to remain a wonderful part of our community and just bring so much to her candidacy that I'm just excited to see what the future holds for our children, having Carolyn in the intermediate school teaching there. So welcome back, welcome home, and please stay. And Ashley is just a gem of a teacher. She is going to add so much to our program at the high school. She has an incredible history, and I won't spend a lot of time talking about that, but what she brings as far as her pedigree, her history, her experience, not only teaching, but her history and her experience before she entered the classroom is just going to be inspiring to all of our students, and looking forward to seeing the impact that she can have at O'Neill for the remainder of her career. So just wanted to say those few things. So.
Thank you. I'm really very excited. I've sat through this whole meeting and it's just a very reaffirming process. I'm very excited to get started and to be a part of this community. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you so much, Carolyn, and we look forward to great things ahead. So thank you.
Thank you so much to the board. I really appreciate the opportunity to continue working in the HFIS school and to be giving back to my community. It's a great opportunity. Thank you so much to everyone and for everyone's support. It's great to work in a school where everybody has the same goal of making sure that our children grow and become the best they can be.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So now, and I apologize again, ladies. So now be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education does hereby recess into executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment history of a particular individual or individuals, and to discuss collective negotiations under the Taylor Law with the Town of Highlands Teachers Association, and the board will not be returning to open session to take action.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and thank you, everybody, for joining tonight, and we'll see you soon.
Happy
Thank you.
Mother's Day.
Stay well.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes. Stay well.
Thank you.